The Blackening is a satirical slasher film directed by Tim Story. When a group of friends go to a cabin in the woods to celebrate Juneteenth, they are hunted down by a slasher in blackface. The film premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. Howdy folks, welcome back to Garage Slasher-thon, where every day for the month of October we revisit a slasher movie. Today we're talking about The Blackening, and this is the last one of our marathon. We've made it to 31 slasher movies. Holy mackerel, I'm gonna need some therapy after this marathon. Anyway, I remember when I talked about zombie movies, the first marathon I did, I ended it with Train to Busan 2. Which was a horrible movie, but I figured it just came out, so I'm gonna review it on the marathon. And this movie came out at TIFF a year ago, and I figured, oh yeah, that movie at TIFF that I wanted to see that I didn't see, yeah, I'll review that movie just to cap it off. Get the 2023 movie going into this marathon. So I don't have many modern movies when I review these marathons. I like to pick from the 70s and from the 80s mostly because I want to discover some forgotten gems. But I figured, you know what? This movie played at TIFF, didn't get that big a buzz, so yeah, I'm gonna review it. This movie sucks. Now, let me get this out of the way. For those of you on the internets with Twitter accounts ready to fire away, fire at will, hear me out. My views of the black community is that it's the greatest community on earth. Oh, I don't know. Listen, just because I don't like a movie that has black themes at the forefront doesn't mean I don't like movies about black people and and it has nothing to do with that, okay? Just fucking get that out of your face. I hate it when people do that. They're like, well, it just wasn't made for you. No, every movie is made for me. This is the same target demographic as Get Out, deals with the same themes as Get Out. Get Out is a good movie. This movie is dick. Okay? Has nothing to do with, oh, you're not the target. You're not the audience. I watch movies because I'm a film nerd, okay? I like movies of all shapes and sizes. I like movies for all purposes they serve. I like the crappy B movies. I like the high art films. I like movies with a message. I like movies without a message. I like everything. That's kind of the reason why I do this YouTube channel. I like everything. And if you want to hear just objective opinions, you listen to me. This movie is ass. Don't watch it. It's terrible. I knew what I was getting into a bit because I do like Barbershop to a certain extent. It's not the best Ice Cube movie. That would be Are We There Yet? No, I'm kidding. It would be Friday. That would be the best Ice Cube movie. But Tim Story's Fantastic Four, not Kino. Let's just leave it at that. I think we got it settled. I really hated this movie. Probably the worst movie I've reviewed on this marathon. Trying to think of one that's worse than this. This actually nauseated me about how bad it was. So Get Out came out around 2017. Took the world by storm. Blumhouse movie, did not feel like a Blumhouse movie, however, and it was this big black satire, but it was a great horror movie. It felt like a Twilight Zone kind of episode. It dealt with black issues, but it's not like white people are bad and black people are good. It wasn't that surface level. It was also talking about white elitism, people who are like, oh yeah, I voted for Obama. And then what's good about Get Out is that I'm a white guy, in case you guys couldn't look at the screen, or in case you guys have another tab open or something. I'm white. The scene in Get Out where the cop car pulls up, and you're just like, fuck. You know, it's like, I'm not black, I don't know what that experience is like, but they do a really good job at, really making you feel that, or just making you feel the discomfort that this character feels. You know, movies, you have to make the audience empathize with the protagonist of the story. Get Out does a perfect job at doing that. This, however, is so isolating. I'm just judging based off the black people I know. I don't even think the black people I know would find this funny. I think you not only have to be a black person in order to get the comedy, you have to be a black person who's living in LA. Because at the beginning of the movie, they say he's strong, like strong with a C. And I'm like, who would ever understand that? That's such like a deep cut reference. Why even include it in the movie? People do not use that lingo in daily use. It takes me out of the movie when you use meme language for characters in a movie. Not to mention, too, if someone watches this movie, say in 3 years, they're gonna have to for sure Google what strong with a C means. This is what I mean. It's like, it's not about like the target audience. It's about the way it presented itself. It's just like so isolating. It's like, you're not telling a story. You're just appealing to an audience that you know would like that kind of reference. Same shit goes with the Star Wars movies, how they'll throw in Chewbacca or C-3PO in a scene and everyone's like, yay! But that doesn't make for good entertainment. You just gave a dog a treat. It's like, here you go, yay! Its social commentary is really what bogs this movie down. There are many flaws with this movie that we'll go into, but the one I want to talk about in depth is the social commentary. Black, 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 black. That's all these characters say. And it's so unrealistic. And the point of the movie is to bring together a talented group of black actors, have them do this horror movie. Horror is a genre that doesn't have usually a black ensemble cast. Let's do it in this movie. Okay, if I put 6 black people in a room together, they are not as obsessed with race as these characters. Literally every line of dialogue is about racism. It's the same problem when you have like a movie and there's a bunch of girls talking with each other and all they do is talk about boys. It's like, okay, if you have a group of girls together, they're not gonna just talk about boys. That's not what girls do. They'll talk about other shit. They'll talk about politics or a movie they watched or a video game. They're normal people. They're not like just like, oh, boys, hey. That kind of thing applies to this movie. Just because you have 7 black people celebrating a holiday together does not mean that the entire time they're talking about race. And this is such a one-note joke. Get Out had a very high concept premise. It's this guy who goes to visit his white in-laws and shit hits the fan. That said, they do a lot of exploration on different facets of racism. Because when you say the same point over and over again, it becomes so annoying. Every line of dialogue in this movie is, hey, I like running. What are you, white? No! That's the whole movie. The whole movie is that. It's that joke told over and over and over and over again. I watch Seinfeld. You watch Seinfeld? You really are a white guy under that skin. Every line of dialogue is that. It's so repetitive. I wanted to just block my ears and not listen to this movie anymore. It was the same joke told over and over again. It boggles my mind that this movie has amazing reviews. It really does. Has like an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Because obviously, listen, when you're a critic, there's people and they're like ready to tweet away at you like, whoa, this person gave a bad review to the black movie. First time we get a black ensemble cast in the horror movie and they gave it a negative review. They're like, careful. They'll give it a positive. They'll give it a fresh and make, is it a perfect movie? No. No. And then they like get away with it. And then it gets like a super high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. That's what happens. But me, I don't give a shit. People hate me. People hate me already, so I have nothing to lose. Anyway, no, it's like the movie you can most compare this to is Scream. This is such an obvious ripoff of Scream. It's not even subtle with it. But what? That's part of the satire. Well, okay, no, not really. Ripping off a satire to make satire, it doesn't make for a good movie. You just took the structure of something that worked and applied it to your movie. And so ripped off of Scream. It is such a rip off of Scream that even in the first scene, let me describe the first scene of The Blackening. There's a character who's hearing a mysterious voice that's coming from outside the room, who's making him play a trivia game, and he's asking trivia questions about horror movies, to which the character is confident about his answer and answers it and is wrong about that answer. And then that results in the slasher murdering him by slashing him across the throat. That is Scream. That is Scream. It's The Blackening as well, but no, that is Scream. It's the exact same scene. Zero suspense. And the other thing, too, about that opening scene in Scream is that it's such a believable mistake. Everyone would think Jason Voorhees is the killer in Friday the 13th. Everyone thinks that. And then the killer says no, because he wasn't introduced until the second movie and became an icon in the second movie. And we kind of have this Mandela effect that Jason Voorhees is in the first Friday the 13th. Here it's just like, eh? And it's like, oh, but it's satire. They're taking this white movie and putting black people in it. That is not smart. That is not smart. It's just stupid. I remember once in elementary school, we did a high school play, and the teacher, who wasn't really feeling creative, he's like, let's do Romeo and Juliet, but the boys are the girls and the girls are the boys. Huh, there we go. That's what this movie is that elementary school theater production of mine. And just because you point out cliches doesn't mean you get a pass, okay? Scream, going back to Scream, they point out a cliche. The cliche being that the people who die in horror movies are those who have sex and those who have drugs and those who say, I'll be right back. Those are the three people that die in horror movies. They avoid that in Scream. Great. That's a subversion that works. In The Blackening, they do that as well, being like, oh, black people in a horror movie. Who's gonna die first? Turns out none of them die. That's the satire. It's plastered all over the poster. It's plastered everywhere. It's just that, it's like it was so reliant on that one gimmick. Okay, enough with the satire that just doesn't work. The comedy that doesn't work. The obsession with race and just mentioning race. Through dialogue, not through characters' emotions, not through story beats, just through characters talking about, oh, that's so white. I'm actually black and you're white. You're dating a white girl, that makes you white. Your dad is white, that makes you white. Let's move past that. How does it work as a movie? Not good. It's not a good movie. Tonally inconsistent. There's a very cringy moment where the movie becomes like a Scott Pilgrim movie. And like the character is about to take a pill of Adderall and the chemical structure of Adderall just shows up next to the character. And I'm just like, wow, there's never been this introduced in the movie. This kind of tone where you can kind of just throw something like that onto the screen. That happened like 2/3 of the way through the movie. And it's just like, okay, I guess we're doing that. Characters can read each other's minds for some reason. Not all that explained. I don't know. Maybe it's a joke in the black community. Maybe. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. It's probably writers trying to find an easy way to get characters talking behind another character's back. No. It's an inside joke. Just trust me. It's an inside joke. Oh, and speaking of the Adderall scene, when the character takes Adderall, it's so cringy. It reminds me of like a 1980s movie when someone smokes weed and all of a sudden there's like trees coming out of the ground and the clouds have smiley faces and it's just the almost over-the-top hallucinogenic experience ever. And like, okay, you just took a puff of reefer. Calm the fuck down. Same thing happens in this movie. The character takes Adderall and is like, whoa, dude. So cringy. Obviously written by someone who's never taken Adderall. Guys, I've been a university attendee for quite a while now. I've had my dabbles with Adderall. I've had my encounters with it. I'm gonna tell you, the depiction in this film is so far off from how it feels to take it. Ugh. It's so cringy. It feels like a bunch of boomers who just never tried Adderall, tried writing a scene with Adderall, and all of a sudden it's like they took I can't even compare it to a drug how it's portrayed in the movie. It's like they just injected themselves with tiger blood. The characters are very annoying. They're all very one note. Again, oh, maybe it's trying to make a statement on horror movies. But Scream made a statement on horror movies. Neve Campbell's an interesting character. Courtney Cox is an interesting character. Matthew Lillard is very charismatic. It has archetypes, but actually makes characters that are fleshed out to the point where they're beyond the archetype, hence satire. This is not the case with this movie. This character is a cheater. This character is rich. This character is a stoner. This character is a black nerd. Oh my god, these characters were so annoying. And they all scream over each other, and it's just not funny most of the time. The jokes are just not funny. And that's the worst part. Put aside the fact that it just rips off Scream. It's not funny. If you did a ripoff of Scream and it was funny, I would be forgiving. You made me laugh. Good on you. A+ for effort. No, this movie is just not funny on all levels. This is a nitpick, but it's just shit like this that kind of got under my skin. There's a scene where a character is using their phone flashlight, like this. Let's see how it looks in my camera. Okay, this is what it looks like. Bit of a lens flare you can see coming from here. A bit of a lens flare. If I move it around. Yeah, okay, explain to me why in this movie, when the character holds a flashlight like this, the lens flare extends from one side of the screen all the way to the other side of the screen. I thought my TV was broken. I actually thought my TV was broken. No, that's a decision they made in the movie to not go with this kind of lens flare, but instead go with the fucking long-ass lens flare that extends from one side of the screen to the other. And it just feels like, oh, well, that's how it would look like with an anamorphic lens. Okay, cool. Why is it in this movie? Please explain that to me. The ending of this movie is so terrible. The twist ending is so bad. Again, going back to Scream. I know I compare it to Scream a lot because that's the movie it's ripping off. The ending of Scream works. It's stupid. It explains why this killer is incapable, but it makes sense in the movie. In this movie, the ending is a ripoff of Scary Movie. Scary Movie did it as a joke, and they're like, oh yeah, let's just do that. The goofy character that's annoying and slowing the whole group down, yeah, he's the killer. They did the same ending as Scary Movie, but Scary Movie is supposed to be a parody, and this is supposed to be a legit movie. Scary Movie is like Airplane or Naked Gun, or it's supposed to be dumb. This is actually trying to be smart. Guys, oh my god, this movie actually frustrated the shit out of me. It was so irritating. It was not funny. The satire was so surface level. Literally the most surface level satire I've ever seen in a movie. Cringy scenes. Obviously written by a boomer. This movie was absolute dog shit. It was so dog shit. Do not watch this movie. It's an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you're watching it thinking oh, what's a good recent horror movie? Avoid this, but I can't stress it enough. It's just not good. And I know there's people who are going to think, well, it's just not made for me. It is made for me. I'm a horror fan. And it's not like I don't understand what a director is going for. I understand the intent of a filmmaker. This movie is actually offensive to a certain extent because it's the first time, I don't know, you can't really prove it, that you have like a black ensemble in a horror movie, kind of along these lines, and just everyone is played like such a caricature, where it's like, say what? And dropping the N-word. There's a scene where a character is fighting the slasher, and totally totally outside the fucking tone of the movie, they start playing hip-hop music. It's like, I'm surprised that this was made by a black filmmaker, because a black filmmaker would be like, listen, we're not gonna boil ourselves down to a stereotype here, but they just go for it. Slasher is fighting someone who's just playing some like kind of Jay-Z kind of rip-off music, and you're like, what? Did they actually do that? And is it satire? Is it not? Again, I feel like the satire kind of element is just a shield for dumb decisions. I don't have that much confidence in director of Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. Don't watch this movie. Happy Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. Have a safe night. If you're going out, planning on getting drunk, make sure you have a ride home. Don't drive drunk. Make sure you have a designated driver or just someone who's around just to take care of you. Maybe we all got that friend. You know, when I'm tipsy, I say some dumb shit. Hell, when I'm sober, I say some dumb shit. Just have a friend along being like, okay, that's enough of that. Have a fun Halloween, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see ya.
Yo, stop playing.
I got a gun.
Damn. That's too DMX. What are you doing?